I'm here today to speak to you as the director of the East St. Louis Action Research Project, which is an outreach entity of the University of Illinois that's been around for more than 20 years. And that's actually what drew me to this, to the University of Illinois in the first place, was this organization or this entity, and my understanding of place as a result of the things that I'd done before that. And I guess I have a little bit maybe different perspective because I'm an academic, and because what I do through the East St. Louis project is actually try to link students with community partners and bring some of the expertise on campus to community partners to help them facilitate what they want to do. So I'll start by saying that my understanding of place really is built first on the physical, but it's that those social and psychological bonds that develop toward the physical place rather than the physical place in and of itself, which, because I'm an architect, is kind of where I started. So that's what underpins my interest in a place-based approach, is that the residents that we work with really are connected to the place, even though, as Bob mentioned, people may move on a regular basis. For us and for our residents in East St. Louis, they really still have a very strong connection to the place and to the history of their families in that place. And from the broad range of work that I've done, I actually find that place-based attachment is stronger in the minority communities, in the low-income communities that I've worked with, than it is when we're working with people who have more resources, who can move from one place to another with ease because they have those resources and more choices in where they live and what they do. So I've identified what 4 key attributes of the place-based work that I've engaged in that I think are critical to the methods that we've used in East St. Louis over the past 20 years. And while they can each be understood as distinct, they're linked together and they support each other. And those are long-term engagement, building and maintaining trust in relationships, employing community-generated goals and ideas, and building community capacity. So the East St. Louis Action Research Project has its history in the late 1980s, when the University of Illinois was challenged by State Representative Wyvetta Young to work with the citizens in the Metro East St. Louis area to propose and implement strategies to address the many physical and environmental problems that existed in the area, and to make the most of the opportunities that were present, such as the potential for waterfront development along the Mississippi River. That challenge turned into a more than 20-year relationship between various units within the university and a broad range of community groups and not-for-profit organizations in East St. Louis, Washington Park, Fairmont City, Allerton, and Brooklyn. And this 20-year relationship eventually became central to SLARP, to how SLARP has targeted resources over an extended period of time. So our place-based strategy really turns on the fact that we've had this long-term engagement. And that, to me, is one of the benefits of working in place, is the ability to really have this long-term engagement and to develop the relationships that allow you to develop trust between, for us, a large university organization and individuals within neighborhoods in a very depressed urban environment. So the way that we began in East St. Louis was really that we start with a lot of one-on-one relationships between faculty members and community residents. And when we started, there were a few community residents who we understood as very committed to seeing change in their neighborhood, to seeing things develop, to seeing the potential of a future for the younger people who were living there. A lot of those were older women who had a history and a memory of what it used to be like there. But they also saw that potential where some of the younger people didn't necessarily see that potential. And over time, we've brought in other faculty members. We, as I said, bring in our students, particularly graduate students, to work and with our community partners and to help develop projects and ways of working in these neighborhoods so that it becomes part of the way they operate when they become professionals. And I think that those long-term relationships are what is instrumental in the trust that exists, and the fact that we now can bring in a new faculty member because one of our community partners identifies an area of expertise or an issue that requires a new area of expertise that isn't among the established faculty. But we can bring in new faculty members, and because we have a structure in place there with a community liaison and a number of graduate students who have these long-term relationships developed, that new people can start to fit in relatively quickly, can understand the networks that exist and how to fit into that and how to really bring their expertise to whatever the situation is. The third point that I want to make that I think is a key attribute of how we've worked in place is that the priorities and the ideas for projects have to be generated from within the community. We see ourselves as collaborators, but we're also outsiders. We don't have all the answers. We don't come in saying we have all the answers. We offer a certain type of expertise, and that expertise is more about facilitating the processes within the neighborhood than telling residents what we think they should be doing. We do a lot of listening and a lot of probing. Our process is about trying to bring people together and in working with the community to collect the kind of information that can help them make decisions about their future. We work with community residents on community-generated projects, and we only come in when we're invited, which is perhaps a little bit different than the way that some university programs might operate. We believe that that's really fundamental because that's really the only way that our community partners will take ownership in the long term of whatever it is that happens, whether it is a new program or a new physical facility, that in order for them to really buy into the fact that it's theirs, it needs to have come out of a process where they feel it is what they wanted. And I think the final attribute has to do with building community capacity, and others have spoken to this. And for us, obviously, that isn't something that happens overnight. It's very much tied to the fact that we've been there for more than 20 years, that we have been able to identify people who have interest in leadership. We've been able to, in some cases, bring those people to campus to become part of, for example, the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership, which has programs that facilitate, I guess, people seeing themselves as entrepreneurs and becoming leaders in that way. So building